Well, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yep. Looking forward to it. I'm not a big Thanksgiving dinner guy, so I'm heading to my parents in southern New Mexico, and hopefully going to get some proper Mexican food tomorrow for Thanksgiving. So just like the Pilgrims. So
Yeah, we're gonna have a filet mignon, sweet potato, salad, and wine.
sounds perfect. I guess it beats the hell out of the eel and whatever else they ate at the first Thanksgiving. So yeah.
So, so we had a question, and I thought the question was interesting enough. We ought to talk about it. The question was, how does an athlete survive the holidays when it comes to like their training plan, when it comes to different things like this? And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, I know what Chuck would say, and I think I have an understanding what Brian would say. so, so Chuck was going to be the whole, well, I'll work with the athlete and try to work around their their travel and da. And I assumed that my coach or Brian would say, no, just do what's on your damn training plan.
Well, my first snarky comment when I thought about this was, we're not seeing how little we can do to maintain mediocrity. We're seeing how much we can do for greatness. And then, but the honest answer, really, I mean, I try to plan those recovery weeks, so you got to basically look forward, months at a time, weeks and weeks at a time anyway, to go, okay, Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm basically my whole day tomorrow is pretty much in the dustbin, because I'm going to be sitting in a car for 8 hours. I would like to think I'm going to jump on a set of rollers the instant I get to my parents' house, but the likelihood is, well, just the likelihood of my parents losing their minds. It's like, excuse me, I know I haven't seen you in a year or two, but hey, I got to get on the rollers because I got a workout to do. But at some point, I think I think the answer to that question is another question. It's like, how focused are you on your cycling goals at that point?
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
No, I'll say
I was just going to say, so you've got a week between Christmas and New Year's, for example, right? So, by all means, I'm doing this with all of my athletes. I'm sure you're doing it with yours. Thanksgiving Day is for the most part, a day to spend with family. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and there's always a travel day thrown in there, it seems. But December 26th, get your butt back on the bike. You got work to do. So
I think we should at least frame the discussion, though.
Okay.
Well, let's think about it. I mean, what's the struggles? I mean, you've got travel, and some travel might be flight, some might be driving. You've got disrupted schedules. You've got crap sleep, nutrition, and then you might have unrealistic expectations from your family and from yourself.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. So, and I think the one thing that you can't control, to a point, obviously you can't control airline travel, but you can they make a bike bag that you can throw your bike in and get some work in, right?
In your car driving down to TC tomorrow?
Well, I am bringing a road bike, a track bike, a Le Mans trainer, and a set of rollers and all my gym stuff. I found a gym, Truth or Consequences. This is little itty bitty town of 6,000 people. I found a clang and bang gym in Truth or Consequences, and I intend to, hit the gym a couple times. I intend to, get plenty of riding in. Yeah, but I'm driving, so I have the ability to take 2 bikes and 50-pound. I don't even know how much a Le Mans weighs, but they're not something you want to carry on a plane. So
Right. And how many people are you putting in the car with you?
yeah, it's just me. Yeah, so
Right.
well,
So, I mean,
that's the nice thing about kids is they're small. They stack really nicely. So
yes, on
you
top
can
of
just shove
rollers.
them in any. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's like be quiet. You'll be there, and you'll be at grandma's house in another 5-6 hours. Just suck it up. But no, in all seriousness, I recognize that you know they're family times, right?
Right.
Thanksgiving and Christmas, especially, are times you spend with your family, and to convince your non-cycling family members that you've got work to do. I had a conversation with my parents, and I said, "Look, I'll come down there for Thanksgiving. I'll drive down, but
Right. Right.
I'm right in the middle of my training program, and I've been working my butt off, and I've been making, I'm adding 5-10 pounds every time I do a lift at this point. I don't want to, I don't want to lose basically 3 lifting days, which is, somewhere between 15 and 30 pounds of advance where I can actually make the gains. And like we talked about, in the off season conversation, right? This is the time we're stacking all that stuff on, right? So I want to be able to, it's selfish, admittedly, but again, I think it comes down to, um, where your goals are and what you're trying to achieve, and how much you're willing to put into achieving those goals, right? You don't get to take 2 weeks off in December for Christmas, because 2 weeks off is 2 weeks you're missing out on, in my opinion, right? You take a couple days off for Christmas, and then you get back to work.
You like Keith's comment?
I can't even see Keith's comment.
Oh,
From his
I
glasses.
got to get out of the
Never see
house and
something.
get away from the crazy family.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's that too,
So,
Thanksgiving, what is it? The domestic violence goes through the roof at
oof,
Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the Super Bowl, right? So,
yeah.
um, you know,
No, no, I hear you, and I guess what I'd like to do is think about it in terms of what could we give an athlete who maybe can't travel with everything that you and I would travel with.
sure,
Um,
sure.
and we know that if somebody's getting on a plane with a family, you're not going to be back in a day. So you're going to be gone for a
Nope.
couple of days.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be like a minimum effective dose that you could do? I mean, the gym thing is spot on. I don't care if you have to go to Planet Fitness, you know.
I've got a Planet Fitness membership strically because, if I'm somewhere and I can't find a gym, there's always a Planet Fitness. So,
And
I'm
Planet
not
Fitness,
proud of my Planet Fitness
no,
membership, but I have
well,
one. So,
and Planet Fitness will also have stationary bikes.
yep. Yeah.
So
And, if you're, if I hadn't found this gym in Truth or Consequences, it was more of a lucky thing, right? It's a small enough place. There ain't a Planet Fitness that even, I mean, you can look on the map on the Planet Fitness app, and it's nothing but little purple pins everywhere. They're scattered all over. It covers the entire continent of North America, but there's not one in Truth or Consequences. You get in a situation like that, you can't take a bike, you can't, you know, you can't go to the gym. Get creative with it. There's got to be a set of stairs somewhere, in whatever place you happen to be, unless you're, hanging out in the Antarctic, for Thanksgiving. There's a set of stairs out there somewhere. You can pack a jump rope. You can do some dynamic adaptation stuff. You can do box jumps. You can if your knees are, good and you're so inclined, I personally hate running, but you can go for a run, packing a set of, running shoes, packing a jump rope, um, you know, getting creative with it. You can find ways to actually, improve fitness, or at least some aspect of fitness. And I'd say, it's probably got to be pretty easy to slip away for half an hour, 45 minutes. An hour would be great. A half an hour is better than nothing. And do something along those lines.
That's a great segue. It's a great segue. We can talk about, how to balance this training while balancing the family portion of it.
Sure.
One of the things that you'd said earlier that I think a lot of people don't think about is just having a plan. I'm going to go, I don't know, reach out to your coach and say, hey, coach, what kind of body weight exercises could I possibly do? What could be my daily routine that I could kind of, do at it? And then if you do find those Planet Fitness or something, is, as simple as taking a heart rate strap with you and telling the family, look, and if you've got to get up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning to do it, then you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do it. And you take your heart rate strap and your Garmin, you go into Planet Fitness and you find a bike and you do 30, 45 minutes of zone 2. Then the next day you go back.
And it goes back again to.
Go ahead.
Jump on a box, or do step ups, do walking lunges with a couple of dumbbells, do all kinds of stuff, right? And I think it goes back to how important is maintaining your training regimen. Both you and I do 15-20 minutes of work every single day, just roll out of bed. I know you've got some shoulder issues.
Yeah, with a toothbrush in the mouth.
Yeah, and knock that out. Having that daily routine. We do a lot of traveling in this sport, and hotel gyms are notoriously terrible for. There's never a squat rack in a hotel gym, right? But there is a Planet Fitness down the street.
There's no squat rack there either.
Well, right. There's no squat rack there either. There is a leg press though. So, I've done legitimately. I've pulled up the desk chair in the hotel and have done seated box jumps onto the bed. In a hotel room. There's things you can do. And I think that's a good point. Ask your coach, hey, I'm going to be in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, where there's absolutely nothing. I can't take a bike. I can't, there's no Planet Fitness. There's no gym. There's, like I said, I got lucky that it turns out that there's a gym in a 6,000 population little town, but there's plenty of things.
Picture of you wearing a toque, chasing chickens around like a Rocky.
Well, and some of that is actually, pretty legit. You can do all kinds of plyometric things. You can do all kinds of dynamic adaptation things with a jump rope and a rope ladder that you can stick in your suitcase, and it doesn't take up any room and it doesn't take up any weight, and you can amuse yourself and get a solid, decent workout and just maintain that fire throughout the holidays. And and I think the other important part is you have to recognize that if I can get 15 minutes is still better than nothing, as opposed to, I know there's that stress that comes with, I was supposed to do a 2-hour ride today, and I've got 37 minutes before I'm supposed to go, wander through the neighborhood and look at Christmas lights, right? So, take that 30 minutes, and do something with it. You're going to feel a lot better about doing the 30 minutes and being able, if you can just let it go and go, you know what, all I can get is 30 minutes. Holidays are chaos, right? I'm doing a lot of tongue in cheek, just get your ass on a bike and shut up about it. But the reality is, it's challenging, right? And travel and family make it really challenging. The act of traveling.
Go ahead. Sorry. I'll say, I think one of the points that you made just a second ago, you've heard me say this all the time when we've talked to a lot of our nutrition people, is that don't make perfect the enemy of good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have heroic intentions, but don't allow that to derail doing something.
Yeah, and I think everybody is actually at some point gone, man, I'm supposed to get that 2-hour ride. I've got 45 minutes. It's not even worth throwing the kid on, putting the shoes on and rolling out the door or jumping on the trainer or whatever. Right. Yeah. But it is,
right.
Because it's still 45 minutes closer to your goal 9 months down the road than sitting on your butt and going, well, crap, I just pissed my day away. So, I think that's really important. And I think it's really, we get obsessed with following that training plan, right? Whatever that training plan is, I do it, and, Training Peaks, it turns red, or, I want green all the way across the thing. I did every single thing. Sometimes that's just not possible. It's just not feasible. And, I know both of us do it. There's a margin of error in our training programs I had to work late. The kids were sick. I was sick. Something came up. I had to take the car to the shop. Mother-in-law dropped by unexpectedly, and, there's a margin of error in there. And if you can actually just go, you know what, I'm doing the best I can possibly do with the situation that I've got. If you could maintain that part of it, I think that's really the key to all of it. Right. Cause I've got these grandiose plans to go to Truth or Consequences. And I know at some point, I'm going to get pulled aside from the task I want to do. And, I intend to get up and, early enough and, knock a bunch of stuff out and try to get that stuff out of the way in those time frames. And it's time management too, right? You can, like you said, you can get up early. You can, I don't know. I'm a night owl. So, if at 9 o'clock, everybody else is going to bed, I'm perfectly okay going and working out at that point. I would prefer to work out, my perfect time is, 6 o'clock in the evening to about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm, obviously that doesn't work out too well in normal society. So it doesn't happen very often, but find that time. You've got 16 hours with perfect 8 hours sleep to play with. Nobody can tolerate you for 16 hours straight anyway. So, take a couple hours off, give yourself a break from the family and friends, give them a break from you, and probably makes for a lot happier holiday season anyway, if you're not all cooped up for 16 straight hours of waking time.
Yeah. I think the other thing that athletes need to ensure that they don't do is fall into the penance trap. And what I mean by that is they miss a workout today, and then tomorrow they decide they're going to do both workouts, and they don't realize actually how negative that is. If you miss a workout today, don't try to make it up. Just go on to the next workout. And then if you have a coach, your coach ought to be would fix it the next week. Or if you don't have a coach, it's not good. It's not going to be that big of a deal. And I say the penance workouts kill me.
Yeah, absolutely. And something to think about, because I hadn't really hadn't really put this together until you'd mentioned it. But if you plan to work out or your coach planned to work out, if I thought my athlete, it would be really good to do like a double workout, basically taking a Tuesday and a Wednesday and throwing them together, I'd have thrown them together already, right? If I thought that was a beneficial thing, clearly it's not, or it would have happened, right? Tuesday and Wednesday would have been a training day. If it's not, if it's not on the schedule that way, it's probably not a good idea to double it up. I mean, that common sense would go a long way if you just think about it logically and go, okay, well, I didn't put it on there, or my coach didn't put it on there, so maybe I shouldn't do it all. Do 8 hours of training on Thursday because I missed 2 days, right? Not terribly helpful.
No. And I think that's a good movement into the next thought of, us as coaches, should we plan for holiday failure? Meaning, it would be easy for us to just write a plan as if the holiday doesn't exist, or is it better to say, oh, look, structure still matters, but prioritize with clarity. What I'll tell some of my athletes is like, hey, look, I've got one. She's like, I still want something on my calendar on Thanksgiving. Okay, we'll still put something there. However, this Tuesday workout and this Saturday workout, this is the most important this week. If you can work the others around it, great. But these are the two that you've got to get done. So just a thought.
Yeah, no, I think prioritizing, a couple of workouts, because you're talking about you're essentially talking about a week, right? So this week, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. We had Monday through Sunday this week. Everybody gets their work done Monday, Tuesday, probably Wednesday, Thursdays. I would consider basically everybody in my program, Thursday's just a wash, right? It's like, I'm just assuming that even if I've got something on there, because somebody wanted something put on there, it's like, okay, but I don't, I'm anticipating that it's not going to happen, and it's a bonus. It's a bonus when it does happen, but it's already pre-planned that it's not going to happen, even though it's there. And I think that's the reality of the situation. Christmas is a different animal for me, right? Because if you're traveling for Christmas, you're looking at, Thanksgiving is, a couple days, maybe a long weekend. Christmas is, a couple days before Christmas, and all the way through the new year, right? So you've got a pretty big block there. I think your approach to your training over the Christmas holiday needs to change a little bit compared to Thanksgiving, simply because it's going to be a longer duration. And you really, I don't want to miss 10 days of training because of Christmas, right?
Right.
I fully expect to miss Christmas Day of training. But I certainly don't want to miss the other, 7 or 8 days out of the 10, that I could be actually doing something. So I think you have to plan for the duration of the holiday as well.
Right.
Yeah. And adjust accordingly.
Yeah. New Year's is, I guess that's the point from a coaching perspective. You still plan, but have that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then,
and I think, oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just going to say that, I think that week, that week between Christmas and New Year's, I think you make you let your athlete know that that's a completely flexible thing, right? You don't want to double up workouts. You don't want to take Tuesday's workout that got missed and put it on top of Wednesday with Wednesday's workout, but you can kind of slide things around, move things around. If it's a longer workout, longer duration, and it fits better here because of, extraneous circumstances, then by all means change that around. I know we write programming, very specifically to do this day, for recovery, for all of those things that we put them in a specific order for. But I think doing something that basically takes stress off the athlete in terms of those holiday, you're already getting piled on with the stress anyway. Being able to be flexible with some of that stuff, just makes it easier as well. And I do the same thing. My own training over Christmas holiday, is pre-Christmas is pretty flexible. Post-Christmas is the most miserable experience of my life because I have to lift with my children at that point. So, and they're both psychotic, but yeah,
how much is Declan pulling off the deck now?
Let's see. He's probably about 620 at this point. He's just kind of maintaining at the moment. He's got an MMA fight coming up. So
is he really?
Yeah, mom's not. Yeah, mom is not happy about that. But guys need to get punched in the face every once in a while. It's just a thing. So,
all right. So we just got a couple minutes left, and I just want my thoughts are this. What is the reset plan for January 2nd? And from my perspective, we've already kind of talked about a little bit. Don't try to make up workouts. Think of it as just the very beginning of the next week. Go back to kind of normal training. So consistency. Look at fatigue, because we're all going to build up some fatigue during the Christmas.
Sure.
So you don't want to all of a sudden try to do I haven't trained as hard as I normally do for the last 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I'm going to try to throw another 18-hour weekend. That's not going to set you up for success for the second week of January. And to try to get back to normal nutrition. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you have to evaluate, how much you got done over the holidays, and look at fatigue, look at workload, look at all of that stuff. Nutrition, especially around Christmas, goes into the tank, right? Just getting that back in line, getting that rest back online, and being completely honest with yourself and if you've got a coach and your coach, right? We know that our riders are not gonna have a perfect training week like Christmas didn't exist, because it's just not going to happen, right? So so just being completely, you know what, coach, I didn't do squat for like 5 straight days. Cool. We can actually fix that, right? If I have a couple of riders that are notoriously bad about keeping up with their training peak stuff. So it's like, okay, well, I'm assuming you did that for the next 3 days until you actually get around to letting me know you did it or didn't. But be vigilant on that, right? Be vigilant and be completely open about that. There's no punishment involved, really. It's like, okay, well, we have some catching up to do, based on what your goals are down the road, but we can catch up if, we know the situation. So knowing the situation is better than assuming that everything got done and, we're off and running.
And the biggest motivating factor, the biggest motivating factor should be whatever you're doing right now, your competition probably isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an interesting sidebar too, right? I was at the gym this morning, and I was thinking about that and thinking about why I'm doing this. Right, this is unpleasant. I lost a bet on Saturday and had to do something really particularly nasty on Sunday. So legs were not where they're normally at on a typical Wednesday, and it's sometimes it's always good to be thinking. Well, for me, it's always good to go, okay, I'm doing something that my competition is not right now, which gives me just that tiny little edge that might be enough to take it over the top, right? So, always keeping that stuff in the back of your mind. And it's always good to have that too, because you may go out and do that run or sneak off at 5 a.m. and, do a bunch of stair bounding or, something, right? That's certainly going to get me moving when I'm not terribly inclined to get moving.
Yep.
After that Christmas party the night before. So,
well, we're at our 30 minutes. Any parting thoughts?
No, have a happy Thanksgiving. Try to get the work done. Don't overly stress if it doesn't get done. Get back in line. After the holiday, and get refocused and remotivated, and make sure it's a gradual build. Right? Do not make up all of Thanksgiving's holidays work on Monday of next week, because that's not gonna be great.
All right, man. Well, we'll be back at it next week. I'm not quite sure the topic yet. I got a couple in my inbox. We'll pull one out, and we'll go on with that. You have a safe travels down to Truth or Consequences. Dana actually, moved a gym workout for Thanksgiving Day and a watt bike workout. So, she'll actually get those green tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That's not terribly surprising.
So, all right, man. Well, you have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll chat next week.
Well, you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Happy Thanksgiving.